Hi all, in this video I am going to show you how to take the data out of different databases, put them in a new sheet and simply be able to graph them. That's really simple. A formula to put the longest losing run, so you can simply see the longest losing run, and to also calculate the deepest hole, again using formulae. It is we've got some great sort of analysis tools on FTS Power Builder as part of Ultimate, and all the sort of heat maps and things as part of FTS Advanced Data, which are all fantastic analytical tools and help you, particularly Power Builder, to deep dive into your systems. And but I do like just to be able to have a real simple sheet that has got my past historic data that I might research the system on, my bets forward, and it's got a graph, longest losing run and deepest hole. I just like to have it in a sort of at a glance format on one sheet. So it basically means taking the data out of my main databases and just putting it in a new sheet, and I can just keep those up to date and have a look at them whenever I want and see the lie of the land when I've combined systems into a portfolio. So one of the things I do is take 2 or 3 systems and put them together and bet them off one bank, something I've talked about many times. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to build that sheet. Now, I am no super Excel expert. All this I've taught myself. I'm going to walk through it relatively slowly. I will, obviously, if I was doing this myself, I'm always making mistakes and I just correct them, referencing the right cells and things. So that is highly likely to happen. This isn't an Excel production video, but I've got the formulae for you. So I'll tell you where they go. And basically, you just need to make sure that on your sheet, the right rows and cells are selected. But I'm going to show you all that, and I will then leave this up at the end of the video so you can pause it and you can copy those formulas down yourself. And then you've got them. So I just have them saved in a text document, and then I use them in different sheets. And obviously I change the information according to what columns and rows I've got in that sheet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use 2 of the Ultimate database. I've just opened 2 random ones. I've opened the Poisson one, and I've opened the File 8 Goal Markets one, and I'm going to use the 2 sample systems. So every sheet in Ultimate, we've got a sample system, and I'm just going to click that and basically take the data that that gives me, and I'm going to create this new sheet. So with the sample home win system for Poisson database, and for the halftime correct score symbol of file number 8, and I'm going to put those together as if I was betting them just off one bank, so that we can see 2 very different systems. One's a backing, one's a laying, so that I can see all the information that I want to see that's most important to me. And obviously other people have more information that's more important to them. I like to keep things really simple and at a glance. So we'll start with this one as we're on it. So the halftime CSLAY sample. So the first thing I do is click the macro, and that will just pull up and filter to every bet that is in this system. And you'll see it starts at row 24 in effect. So what I'm then going to do, I'm going to grab the header row. So I've gone across and selected A to F, and then I'm going to press Control, Shift and down on my keyboard, and that goes down to the bottom line. So when you try and drag it with your mouse, you might miss one. If you use the keyboard, hold Control and Shift down and the down arrow, that selects all the games that were bet in this halftime CSLAY system. I click Control C to copy them, and I'm going to put them in a new blank workbook. So I open a new blank workbook. I want a line above that, which I'm going to put a formula in. So I'm going to start in cell A2, and I right click, and I'm going to use this one, which is keep source column width. So I've clicked the paste, right clicked it, I've got the paste, I've gone to the paste special where there's an arrow, and I'm going to put the course keep source column width option, easy for me to say, and that puts everything in and puts it in at the right width of column. So that's the first bit of information I want from that sheet. I then go back. Now I want my odds and bets that I've placed, so the odds and bet returns. So I go again to the end, make sure that you scroll right up to the top so you get that top row of data. They're both together here, so I've got the odds, the halftime price that we laid at, and the return for that bet. So again, I highlight both those rows. You could do them one at a time if you wanted to, but just keeping the mouse down and selecting both of them. Control Shift and down. That grabs all the odds and returns for the games in that system. I go back to book one, and this time I don't need it in the top where I've got the header. I'm going to put my own header in. I'm just going to put them next to the first game. So I literally again click paste, and now I've got all the matches bet in that system, the odds we bet at, and the returns. Over here, I'm going to go to column N. I'm going to put what that system was. So it was file 8 halftime CS there. And if we just put our mouse in between N and O, you'll see I get that straight vertical black line. I just double click that and it makes the column the right width for that data. And then select that column, go bottom right, get the black cross. I'm going to drag that all the way down the bottom so that I know that those bets relate to file 8 halftime CS. And it also enables me to do another check. I just highlight the bottom row and make sure that everything lines up, that I haven't accidentally pasted the odds the wrong down. You know, if this stopped a row short or went too far, I've obviously done some pasting wrong. So my bottom row is got exactly the same data as my top row. And I know then I've lined everything up correctly. I'm now going to add a couple of headers. This is halftime CS, but I'm not interested. I've just put one of the odds I bet at and the return that I got for that bet. So I've just got now all the match info, the odds, the return for that bet, and I've labelled that system. I don't need anything else out of that sheet, so I can close it. Don't save. I've got the filter, I don't need it. And then I'm going to go to file 3, and I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to grab my home win sample here, let that do its filtering, scroll it all the way to the top of that data there, and then I'm just going to grab, I don't need the header because we've got a header, so I'm going to grab the first line of matches, again columns A to F. So that's why when you're building sheets it's really handy to keep that sort of information in the same format. I'm going to shuffle it all the way down to the bottom, Control and Shift and the down arrow, Control and C to copy it so that we've got it all, and then I'm going to go all the way underneath this. I'm going to go to the bottom row of this halftime CS system, and I'm now just going to paste those Poisson games in under there. So Control and V paste it. I've got to go back to my sheet. I need the odds. Now this time the odds and the returns aren't next to each other. So the odds are in column AB. So again, go to column AB, go to the top cell, make sure you scroll up to the top, get all the data. Select that cell, Control and Shift and down, Control and C. I grab all that data and now I can put it in here, there, and then go to the returns column. So this is back in home wins. So I go to the home win returns column, which is column AZ. Again, go all the way up to the top. Select the top column, make sure you're right at the very top. Select the top column, Control Shift and down. Control C, so the Control Shift and down selects it all, and then Control V here. Now this is file 3 home wins. I call that file 3 HW for the first game of that system. Get my black cross, drag it down. It's dragging it down. I copy that down so that I know it's that system, and that double check that I've got all the data at the bottom. I've got exactly the same. The rows line up for the odds, the returns, and the match information. So I've got all the games now from 2 systems in the sheet. I don't need file 3 now. I've got everything I need. I've got the games that you would bet, the odds you would bet at, and the returns for those bets. What we do notice, though, we've got some formatting issues. So here we've got no colour in the halftime CS. We have in the Poisson. In the halftime CS, we've got bold teams. We haven't in the Poisson. So I'm just going to tidy all that formatting up across the sheet. So column H first cell. Some are bold, some aren't. I'm going to Control Shift and down to select everything. Click bold, it will make everything bold. Just make sure that it's on or off so that you either have them all bold or not all bold, whatever way you want to do it. The odds column, we've got some with a fill-in from the Poisson sheet and some haven't. Top cell, Control Shift and down. I don't want a fill, so I'm just going to go to the fill color and put no fill so that we've got all that. The team info, league, home and away, we've got some in bold from the halftime CS sheet, others not. Again, go down, turn the bold off, Right, so now we're in a situation now. The only other one where we've got different formatting is, you can see here in the file 8 half-time CS, we have got a long date, 28th of May 2023. The Poisson games, we've got a short date where we've just got 2310. So I'm going to tidy those all up so they're the same as well. So if you've ever got different format of things, just check them. And I'm going to do select the top cell, Control Shift and down to select everything. Now we've got on the Home tab of Excel, we've got our formatting drop down. I'm going to go to short date. So I'm just going to make sure everything is short date. And if I go down to the bottom, you'll now see those games that had April and March and as written in as a word, it's changed it to a short date format. Year, year, day, day, month, month, year, 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 year. So now I've got everything in the sheet that I need to do the bits that I want to do. I've got half-time CS, all the selections, the home win, all the selections, and I've got all the formatting correct that I want for this systems. So now what I need to do is get it in order. So you can see how all the half-time CSs at the moment are above all the Poissons in the format that I pasted them in. I highlight, what I'm going to do is give column N a heading. So I'm going to call that system so that we know what it is. And I will just go to any one of these columns, click the Format Painter button and paint it over the top of that. And it just makes sure you get the same colors and things if you want to keep it tidy. So now I'm going to highlight 2. I'm going to go to the Data menu and I'm going to click Filter, and that puts my filter arrows now at the top of every column. I've got data, including my new systems column. So now I want to put it in order. So I click time, smallest to largest, games that kicked off earlier than later, and date, oldest to newest. And now you can see, so for the 2016-17 season, I'd have bet the Poisson system, and I've thought, oh, I've done well, okay, I've won a few quid. And then I get to 2017-18 and think, right, I'm going to now add in the half-time CS. So the start of the sheet is some of these Poisson games, but then when we get to 2017-18 season over here, you can now see the two interspersed. So this is how we would bet them if we were betting these two systems. If I just make that a bit bigger for you, so you can see that. You can see that these two sheets now in season order, in date time order, but mixed up as we would bet the systems as we would. So if we continued betting them, we would just be adding our selections from both systems on the bottom. So what we're going to do now is do some little analysis on this. That gives us the longest losing run and the biggest drawdown and a graph. The first thing I'm going to do, I left a blank column row at the top in column H. I'm going to put a subtotal column. So this is equals, and then you type subtotal, put a bracket, the number 9 and a comma, then the first row of your returns column, the first cell, so it is H3, and then colon, and you want to make sure that you go down far enough to include the very last cell of your returns column. But obviously, if you're going to be adding data, you want to make it future proof. So I think there's whatever, about 1,000 bets in this. I'm going to make it 10,000. So I'm going to remove the 3 and go make it 10,000. So this is basically now going to subtotal everything that's got a number from H3 down to H10,000. So as I add data, it's going to add those numbers on. Close my brackets and press enter, and it tells me the two systems combined have won 140.46 points. But if I filter anything by putting that subtotal 9, if I use English Premier League as an example, you can see that's won 87 points across both systems. I can look and go, right, what about home win? That makes 33 of the points. So English Premier League, the Poisson files won 33 points. That means if we take that off and do the half-time CS, it's won about 53 points. And overall of that 140 points, it's won 140 points, won 87 odd in the Premier League. So that figure is dynamic. It will move as we filter. We're now going to create a new column, a static running figure, which is going to be the one we use. It's going to still add up to this. It's going to stay static, but it's going to help us do our deepest hole number. So what we do, we want to add this cell, and then as it keeps going down, we want to keep adding to it. So it's going to tot up these numbers as it goes. So we put in here equal sum, And then we need to fix this cell because everything's going to go from our starting point down the sheet. So to fix it, we use dollar signs. We use $H, $3. So I'm asking it to look at this cell, and initially I just want it to add it to its own cell. So I just want the one number, H3. So I'll put $8, fix that cell, and tell me the sum of that cell at the moment with its own. So there's nothing going to be other than -1. So it copies that -1. But as I then now put my black cross and drag that down, so the next bit 170, now it's saying it's $3 and H4. So it's basically saying, give me the sum of these two cells. And as we keep going down to here, it's going to say, give me the sum of all 5 of these cells. So everything is relating back to H3 and going as far down as we want. So we want to take that all the way down to the bottom. And then if I go to the bottom, Control Shift and down, you can see it's 140.46. So that will stay static. So unlike the number at the top, those numbers won't move when we filter. That will just stay exactly the same. So I've just done it to get a running total to help me with finding what's the highest point I've been at any time and what is my deepest hole, as in how far from that highest point have I fallen at any one time. So that is all the information I need. This is just purely putting formulas in. So the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to do the longest losing run. So LLR is longest losing run. What I want to know is, in this set of data, these two systems combined, when I bet them combined, what is the longest losing run when they're all together that I could experience or have experienced, not could experience, because obviously you can experience anything, but it's a matter of what it's a guide of. It has lost X number of bets in a row. I could expect that to happen again. I could expect it to perhaps be 2, 3, 4 worse than that. So it is simply a formula, and it is this formula here. We're basically asking it for the maximum frequency that in this instance -1, and I'll talk about that in a minute, less than equal -1 that occurs in the column that we want. So we're just grabbing that, and I go and copy it there, and I'm going to paste it into column P there. And at the moment, see, we've pasted the formula in, it's given us the result of that formula. At the moment, it's 0 because it's looking at the moment at column D. This formula on that sheet references a column D. I need to change that to represent our return column. So you want it to reference where your return is, not the running, the return column, which is column H. So all I've got to do here is change all my column Ds in here, and we've got 4 pairs. So there's 4 sets that needs to work this out. So I'm just changing them from D to H, and you'll see they're set to 10,000 again. So it's future proof. If you got to having more than 10,000 bets, you'd need to make this big end, this number at the back end bigger. But it is H3 to H10,000. It's plenty for what we need. There's not many people I know who've had 10,000 bets off the same system. They've usually given up long before then. So now, and I'm basically asking it to give me the max frequency where the return is less than equal to -1. So I'm asking it for all the -1s, and obviously we've got some lay correct score half times where we've lost -3.9 or whatever, depending on the odds we've laid at. So I hit enter, and that tells me the longest run of losing bets. That's all it's telling me. What's the longest run of losing bets is 5. And we can check that. We can just scroll down, and you see you get situations like this where you get 4 out of 5 and things. But I'm just going down. We've got 5 out of 7. Just scrolling down, here, there, and somewhere in this lot we will find we got a losing run of 3 there. Again, 5 out of 6. We will get to a stage somewhere where, obviously it's not a great number, 4 out of 5 there, where we have got 5 bets that have lost consecutively. 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6 there. Okay, there it is there. So that is our longest losing run. We've lost in effect 7 bets out of 9, but it had 5 losers on the trot from the 8th to the 15th of August. Typically Tottenham involved their home win against Bournemouth. So that's what that formula does. So it instantly tells you what's my longest losing run. And that's just a guide for you. You can't ever use anything more than a guide. We've got an estimated longest losing run. You know, even if you're betting at even money and you get up to having sort of 3, 4, 5,000 bets around that price, the maths will tell you, the logs will tell you that you can expect a losing run of sort of 8 to 10 bets. And people don't really understand that. So it's just good to have that figure that in this, actually, I have had 5 losers on the bounce, and that almost certainly will happen again, but it could probably be 2 or 3 more than that. So that's our first formula, and that's the first formula on the sheet. As I say, I'll leave this up at the end. But what I want to do now is use these 2 columns to work out our highest point in the bank, and then from that we can work our deepest hole out. And the first formula is this one, equals max, and we want the running and the high, but we need to do it offset so that as it goes it works it out. So I want here equals max, I want the top cell of my running number, the max there, comma, and then when you do this you can just select the header of your highest column. So if you had it up here it would be J1, mine is J2, because basically what it's going to do is it goes down the sheet, it's going to keep making this diagonal reference saying what is higher, the figure we're on or the new running total. So basically it's just going to work that out as we have bets and go down. So I hit that and obviously it's -1, but as I scroll down now it's got it in there, and it's going to still be that because we haven't got past, and -0.3 is the highest. Then we've had a loser winner. We've never got higher than -0.3, but let's get it into positive numbers. So the highest point of the bank is 3.26. If we keep going down, it gets up to 7.52, but you can see there, so it's 7.52 was the high there. That's the highest this bank has been in that point, and then it had 2 losers, but it still remembers because it's making this diagonal reference. It's going, well, actually no, 7.52. So you've had a loser and you've had another loser, 7.52. So I can take that all the way down, and that just plots. So we got to 1706 after 34 bets, and then we didn't go anywhere. It stayed at 17, and you can see the progression of how your bank got higher. 41, it got stuck on 41 for ages. So we got to a high of 41 here, and then we never got above it. We were always just going up until eventually, you know, it's good. Again, you can see how systems work then. Eventually, we started to get above the 41. We want 41 point, new high, 41.35. So that's just a record of your highs as you go down your back, and that formula is there, which is max. So you want the first cell in the formula goes in the first cell of your highest column, and it is offset. It is the first cell G2 in this, or I2 in my case here, of my running column, diagonally offset against the first highest column, but you just want the header row of that. So we're diagonally there, and that diagonal keeps working down. So hopefully that's clear, that you put it in running and high, and you offset it one. Your running needs to be 1 cell lower than your highest entry there. Hopefully that's clear. Right, so then we get into doing our deepest hole, and the first thing of our deepest hole is we need it just to equal the first return column for the minute. So we just need it to equal that, the first return for the first cell, because that is our deepest hole at that time. Whether we win or lose, that's our position after one bet. We now need to put a formula in that will basically look at what's going on, what we return per bet, what our running total is, what our highest total is, and say at any time, how much are we veering from this highest total? What's our bank dropping down? What's the biggest gap in there? And that formula is here. And it is basically if the high equals the running. So if the high equals the running, then just give me this number because it hasn't changed, but it's still the same. But if it doesn't, then we need the running minus the highest. So it'll be a bit easier as I put it in. So I'm just going to move that down. We need to put that in this cell. So it's if the high equals the running, and it's in the next row. So we're in row 4 now. So equals if that J4 equals that, then what I want you to do is give me this figure, because nothing's changing there. So I want you to give me this figure. But if it doesn't equal that, then I need this one this time, the highest, so I'm sorry, the running figure minus the highest figure. And all of a sudden, when I press that, it should work, he says. So J4, so you'll just notice that the two pairs are the wrong way around. So if running equals the highest, show me deepest hole. If it doesn't equal that, then I want the running minus the highest. And let's just hit that there, and it's -1. What I'm going to do is just change it. You see that's general, change that to a number. So go to my format, hit a number, and you can see the deepest hole is still -1. So we minus 0.3 isn't lower than -1. So it's done its right thing. It's kept it there. And as we drag it down, so if we get to these where we had a couple of losers, now you can see, so the highest was 7.52. But we lost 2 bets. So the deepest hole on this run is -2 points. If we click it all the way down, you're going to get numerous different scenarios. And you can see here where we've lost a few lays, it's got to -10.5, -10.8. So, and you can always check it. So we've got here to a high of 29.72. So we've hit that high there. And then if we add all the columns up down to there, you can see all the losing bets from that add up to -10.5. So it's just telling you how far have you fallen since you hit this 29.72, what's actually happened. And we've got to -10.5. So I'm just going to go back to the top and show you a way now. Can you show me the deepest hole? And it's really easy. So I'm going to type in here deepest. I'm going to make that yellow and bold, so they're the ones I'm looking at. So this is my longest losing run here. Now I want my deepest, and what I'm going to do, it equals min. So I want to see the smallest number, so it's got the biggest minus number, in effect, the smallest number in K. And you can see I've just selected the whole column. It's got give me the min number in K column, the colon K, hit enter, and the deepest hole, the biggest sort of losing streak financially in betting this system is -22 points. So that's sort of where I would go for me if I was betting this. This could go up, this can go up. I would round that to sort of -25, times it by 3. If I was betting these two systems, I'd need a bank of -75 points, and I'd feel comfortable that I could carry a deepest hole that can go worse than this and a longest run that can go worse than this. And if I scroll down now, we can see that -22 will be somewhere here. So you can see here we get -19, -2207. So you get that number of what it is, and that's it. So basically that's just doing that all the time, just recalculating and showing you, and it just gives me a really quick, I can just open that sheet up and go, how have these combined systems got on? I don't need to do anything else. I've got a longest losing run of 5 and a deepest hole of -2285. You can check it there by going to filters, and if I go oh no, wrong column, sorry, deepest hole there, and I can see that the number is indeed -2285. I could filter to it. It was in row 470. I can clear that down. I can go down to 470 and see exactly where that happened, what happened, when it was. So there it is, -2285, COVID sort of time. Oh no, before COVID, it was 2019. -2285, one a bit back drop, so we're still here 2262 from our high of 65.56. Back up here the bank got to 65.56, and then we had that run of losers. So got it there. We've then had that run of losers there, which adds up to our -2285. So that is the formula that does it. And then the next part we need, I'm just going to very quickly show you a graph, and people struggle with graphs. Once you've got this running in, so R equals sum $H $3 colon H3, drag it down, just referencing your return column. Once we've got that, go to the top cell, click highlight so it's all selected. So I've gone to the top cell and I've hit Control Shift and down. Again, on there, Control Shift and down. So I've selected all the data in there. Top of your Excel menu, insert, go to the chart area, which is in the middle here, and click the one that looks like zigzag lines. So it says insert line or area chart. Click that, and all we want is the first one, top left, 2D line, simple line graph. And if I click that, it just draws a line graph of that return column. I haven't got to do anything else. I can move it over there wherever I want. He says, oh, quite give myself enough screen space. Move it over there. I can scroll across. Let's put it back up. We can drag it up nearer the top if we want to. He says, I should have done it at the top. That's no problem. So I'm just going to drag it up while I'm going. I can drag it up the page. Good at that, am I? I can make it bigger if I want to. So if I wanted to make it bigger, I can just drag the corners out and make it bigger so I get a better thing. I can put a title in there and go Croissant Home win and file 8 halftime CS. And that is now a graphed out performance of that. You can see the ups and downs, you can see the peaks and troughs, you can see the bits where it stayed still, and everything is in there. You can see the drop downs, all that is in there. So you can see where it got to that 60 odd points and then dropped down that 22.85. So that's the biggest drop. We've had a similar one here on a climb there. You can see it all there just by highlighting that data. So the whole thing is now done. I've got everything I want on there. I've just got the bets. I've got the odds I bet at. I've got the returns. I've labeled them as systems and sorted them by date and time. I've got a running column here, so that there, the running column, each equals sum, dollar, whatever your cell is, the letter, dollar, whatever your cell is, the number, colon, the same cell, and then drag it down and it will do that. I've got my subtotal 9 for my return column, subtotal 9, and then make sure you include all the data, so H3, and I've done to H10,000. And then I've got my formulas here that I've got for you that cover everything and tell me the max frequency. This is my longest losing run one. This is then to create my first cell of my high column. That's where that goes. This is to create the first cell of my deepest hole column. And this is to create my deepest hole formula, which goes in the second cell of the deepest hole downwards. But you've just got to make sure that it's high and running. So whatever your column letters are, these are the ones that's got to be right. So here is the first profit and loss entry. In the text file it's G2, but in the actual file it's H2. So I've just put that in, but I've had to change it to H2. This one is I'm using where it's I and H, I'm actually using I and J for my J and IJK for my deepest hole column. So you can see that I put the K in there. So I'll leave that up. Hopefully that is clear. You can see exactly what they are in the formula bar there. I might have to make it a bit bigger on your screen, but that is how you combine systems, the information I take out of the sheet, how I lay it out, and what I can do to it then. So I can just open that sheet and go, I've got longest losing run at 5, I've got a deepest hole of 22.85, I've got a graph down here that tells me exactly what's gone on. It says down here somewhere that tells me how it is. I always tend to keep my graphs level with the bottom data, because if I add something, so let's say then I wanted to add another few and they'd all lost. If you click the blue line there, you'll see it stops. But what we can do is drag that down and drag the formula down, and it gets represented on the graph. So now when I click the blue line, you'll see it now takes all these numbers into account, and I can just clear those contents and it's good, and you can easily see your peaks and troughs. I hope for those of you FTS members that is some use to you.